I swear my left side of my face is so swollen. Okay, we're doing it anyway. We're doing it anyway. Um, hey, happy New Year, bitches. I got sick. Did anybody go out? I was gonna go out. Well, for like a second, I thought about it and I was like, I feel like shit. I need to drink. Is it too weird sounding? Sorry. I have the fan on. I got dogs chewing. I'm not really sorry, but let me know if the audio is okay. I'm gonna chug this pineapple juice too in hopes that the swelling will go down. Don't do what I do, okay? Really relatable, probably harmful. Okay, don't follow what I do. Ow. So, how's everyone doing? I feel like I haven't been here in a minute. I've just been succumbing to the thought of never mind, I won't even go there. Da, da, da. Look at this. I swear, when this is all over, if I end up having jowls, I'm getting off YouTube. Like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it because my face has been swollen for like however long. Do I have a bottle opener? No, but I have a spoon. Thank you for the super chat. Woo! Striker Z. I love you. Okay, I do. Okay. Yeah. Cheers. It's good. It's not as bitter as I remembered it. Unless my cheek is just traumatized right now. Okay, today's video. What is the title of this video? I prepped for this one and I already forgot. I know it's on fucking secular humanism, but I don't know exactly what the title was that I made up. I'm critiquing secular humanism. Okay, sick. So originally when I was thinking about doing this video, I forget when it came up. We were talking about objective morality. I think it was the recent debate that I did, which is not that recent. It was like a couple weeks ago. And people were shocked that shocked. I don't know if shocked is the right word, honestly, but people were like, how the fuck does she have a framework that is arguably objective? I don't go into debates saying that because I feel like merch. Sound it out. I feel like if you already go into a debate with the idea of proving your framework, moral framework, as better than the other person's, and you start debating on that, it loses the essence of everything that I'm against, which is like mine's better than yours. You're stupid. Okay, it's giving that projection thing that I think is honestly at the core of all human conflict. So I like the idea of people like figuring it out on their own without having to say that. And then they're like, well, wait a minute. How does somebody have a moral framework that's arguably objective, that does not follow Christian ethics or deity? Like, what the fuck? Typically, people who espouse beliefs similar to mine, you will often find them as secular humanists, atheists, sometimes compatibilists. I don't like that, but I get it. Okay. Anytime you're dealing with consequentialism, did I say that right? I feel like this is the first time I'm speaking out loud. It's fine. I'm fine. Like the video for my troubles. Love you. Consequentialism, moral relativism, secularist, degens, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Whatever you want to call it. They will espouse similar beliefs to mine. However, it has a shifty element. Sorry guys, I did a nasal rinse too right before this. I feel like it's finally draining. Anybody else have sinus issues since like all of the plane crashes? Sorry. They're not related. I'm just saying they are. Like I said, it's like chalk. Oh, Jesus. That tea isn't very warm. Back to my bromine. I feel like bromine is like chlorine. Moving on. So, you okay? What was I saying? Deity, Christian ethics, moral relativism. It's always shaky. It's never really grounded. Is there an issue with that? Probably. Okay, probably. You know what's crazy is like people will say, aren't you worried that XYZ will happen? And it's like, I have a very grounded framework, but at the same time, if you actually are a hard determinist, it's like none of it matters. It's like it just is. And so I make myself chuckle. Yeah, babe. No, I'm not giving you the fucking masking tape. Enough. No. Dude, this dog, since she was a puppy, has been upset. No, has been obsessed. I hate you. With JK, I lied. I love you. She fucking steals all of the masking tape. I'm like, where the fuck is it? Where is fucking find it under the bed? Just nod. No. We're fine. I'm just like, I'm not in the mood. What was I saying? Hold on, where's chat? It sounds like my ex grounded framework. She was a bit heavy. Fuck. So, anyways. No. Are you okay? No. What's wrong? Sing. Rue, will you sing? Oh, she wants the blankie. She's like, Mom. There you go, my honey bunches of oats. Get comf. This is the time to get your snacks. You're so angry. You're like the most cranky. Rue, no. No. You can lay down there. Rue, there's people watching. Don't embarrass me. Anyways. blanket. She always needs me to pull the blanket for her. She won't shut up. She'll go, you're like, okay. I feel like I kind of understand men's struggles with their girlfriends. Not like that. You're not getting an uninterrupted word. She's just so angry. I don't know why. Probably because she's small. Like the world's smallest Dalmatian. So anyways, oftentimes if you ever go into a debate setting, oh God, I'm going to have the hiccups. Sorry. Just kidding. If you go into debates, it doesn't matter what the topic is, okay? It always comes down to morality and people arguing about how theirs is better and I'm over here on top of the cosmos, just like you're all the same and you can't see it. I'm better. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. It's starting to really like be really obvious how similar everybody is and how frustrating it is because you have a bunch of humans arguing about things that don't matter. No, it's like we need frameworks on how to behave. It's like if that ever worked, which it doesn't, but don't worry, okay? I can operate in your sort of setting. But it's like if that really worked, don't you think it would deter behavior? Like, don't you think that people wouldn't commit crimes? It's like, well, they are just sadists. It's like, okay, Brittany, what does that make you? You're projecting. So a debate will always come down to whose morality is better. At this point in my life, it's just so obvious how similar they are. I just want to rally everybody up and just be like, we're going to include all of you. Get in a fucking line. Let's go. Me in charge. Okay. And it doesn't matter how logical your argumentation is, it's starting to just really exhaust me. Maybe it's me turning 30, I don't know. But it's never been more frustrating than ever. Maybe I'm maturing. Is this what that looks like? But secular humanism is typically, more often than not, what I see atheists adopting. Some compatibilists will adopt it. I'm sorry, a lot of compatibilists will adopt it, but it starts to get really complicated. So what does that all even mean? We'll talk about it. Okay. Secular humanism, at its core, seeks to maximize human flourishing through reason, science, and empathy. You know, I find it ironic, funny to say the least, that the same people will criticize religion. They're like, we use reason, logic, okay, but they're the same ones to also be compatibilists, and it's really giving the same energy, and I will try to break it down. Personally, I'm a hard determinist. What that means, just real simplified, is I believe that we have absolutely 0 ounce of free will in this bitch, okay? Everything we do is determined by prior causes. Genetics, upbringing, ancestral fucking past. We're not as in control as we think. However, just before anybody gets their panties in a bunch, like TLDR, you can control environment collectively, even individually. But when it comes down to being able to make a free decision, there's probably another factor that influenced that. One really famous example is Robert Sapolsky gave this example in his book Determined, the hungry judge effect. And it showed that if a person was going to get a lesser sentence, the number one determining factor was if the judge had lunch. Okay. I don't want to hear shit about anybody that argues why their moral framework is better when our judges send people to prison longer because they forgot to stop at Taco Bell. Like, I'm sorry. Lawyer, make one of the stipulations that they have to go eat lunch and you need proof before this fucking thing will persist. That's just one example, okay? But anyways, I find it really ironic that secular humanists who arguably do everything based off reason, logic, and whatever also believe in free will. It doesn't work. It's like you're bending over fucking backwards to make it work. Can you actually? You can, but I hate you because now you're changing the definition of free will to suit you, and we're going to have a semantics debate back and forth. I can already predict it. And it's giving relativist, which isn't always bad. Okay. I know it gets a bad rep, has ability to change. So you think it does, but it's not the worst thing. It's just, how can you shame religion for being based on belief when science has disproved free will and you still ignore it? Like, ironically, you're the same. You're worse, actually. You're worse. Hypocrites. Now some people will be like, well, compatibilists can still operate under determinist. It's still, because then they will say something along the lines of, well, we foster empathy and compassion. If you did, genuinely, if you did, then there's absolutely no rational reason that you sometimes believe in free will and then other times you don't. You know what it gives? Honestly, it gives, I'm an egotistical fuck who needs to be praised for hard work, for self-interest. And it's like, Torrie, how'd you get there? You won't be able to unsee it. Okay, you really won't if you've been watching me for a minute. It's like they hold on to this free will concept, even though nothing changes if they don't. But they don't understand that. No offense. Okay, people oftentimes when they talk about free will, it's like, I believe that they don't have necessarily a choice. There's other things influencing it. And what they will typically argue on is intent, which that's not the same thing. I need you to focus. I love you. Like, if I'm focused right now, you have no excuses. Love you. But it's like people need to hold on to this concept that they have the sheer will to control behavior. But then it's like sometimes they'll see people that have epilepsy, they can't drive a car. They don't feel like justice has been served and they're getting their deep punishment when their driver's license has been inactivated for a while. It's not them, it's their disease. Well, aren't you just so... Explain to me how you can differentiate when somebody uses it or not. What could go wrong, honestly? Your Honor, if you genuinely cared about compassion and you also understand that sometimes people don't have free will, whether it's mental illness, you can see instances. How can you rationally operate under this hold people accountable for actions no matter what? It's like you are the reason that power structures get corrupt. How do you not see it? And it's like, well, what happens when you absolve people of responsibility? Well, you don't really absolve people of responsibility, but what you do is you focus on preventative measures. Shitty environment, probably should fix that, instead of waiting until that moment where somebody commits a crime, even though it was absolutely 100% predictable. Kid is getting fucking in fights at school, has absolutely no regard for laws. It's only a matter of time. It's not if, it's when. So operate under a deterministic framework, and you can't operate on this punitive retribution model. It just doesn't work. And if you don't believe me, other countries have already adopted this. We're going to adopt a rehabilitative framework. We already started to. So whenever I hear people get mad at me, I'm just like, because I'm a woman. I'm just kidding. But it is. Donald Trump does it and he's cool, right? What else does it do? It begins to actually find the root causes of behavior. It's crazy because they believe in science and research. But under this model of free will, it kind of absolves, in a weird way, it's a little bit reductionist, but it kind of absolves the healthcare industry, doctors in particular, from actually spending time on finding root causes of disease. And instead, it's like, oh, it's maybe lifestyle factors. And it could be. I'm not saying it couldn't, but it's like all of our models are based on this. We educate people, give them the right information, they can do what they will. If somebody's obese, they're probably going to need something else other than just eat chicken breast. You know what I mean? Like maybe you have to medicate in some regard until they actually start working out and get that habit forming. You have to find, or you have to operate the model according to what works. And so one of the biggest issues that I see, especially when secularists debate, is that they claim they're for empathy, compassion. What's another one? Empathy, compassion. I just like list it out. Science, reason, whatever. But they do the fucking opposite. If anything, they're worse. And the reason I say they're worse is because there's a beauty to having a dichotomy of frameworks and integrating them, as opposed to saying mine's better than yours because X, Y, and Z, and then doing the opposite. I don't give a fuck what you do. But this idea that free will exists is not supported through science. It's been disproven. So you're already like off to the wrong start, but it was predetermined, so it was going to happen anyway. But then what else? This idea that humans operate on empathy is laughable to me. I know that humans intrinsically have empathy. We know babies at like 6 months, probably earlier than that, start to develop cues and empathy with their caregiver through whatever. I'm no mother, single and childless, but it's like we understand that there's empathetic framework, or there's frameworks that are what do you call that? Like embedded in your DNA. Excuse me, unless you have some sort of faulty ventricular cortex. Okay, something in the brain that affects your amygdala or something. You have some sort of mishap. Okay, but this idea that people or this idea that you could persuade everybody, religious folks, let's say, okay, secularist is, we need to operate with empathy, as if Christians don't do that. And it's like so bold, because people operate on desire and self-interest. So we can lie and say that people do things for empathy, but when it comes down to it, like at the root cause, it's self-interest. They know this when it comes to handing out money or giving to the homeless, somebody on the street. It's like you're doing it for your own grandiosity in a way. That's putting it in extremely fucking poorly. But it's like, if nobody was around, would you still do it? And some people might say, yeah, but do you really want to operate on a moral framework that's like that? It doesn't matter to me. It matters to y'all. Y'all are the ones that say you need to have these principles. Another thing, and I know Matt Dillahunty, I'm almost done watching most of his content. Matt Dillahunty, that has like 3 principles that he operates with under secular humanism. What are they? Human flourishing, harm reduction, pleasure over pain. Pleasure over pain, like you should probably not cause pain type thing. But what's the other one? Fuck. Health over sickness, life over death. In debates, when you're dealing with complicated moral frameworks, anything other than Christian ethics and deontology, honestly, most often like utilitarianism, you will have some universal principles so you can expedite debate. You don't have to do the whole you just, these are my accepted principles, okay, blah blah blah, and then you debate on those in particular. My issue comes when I don't like it. I feel like you need to debate why you think that's correct, because the idea that something like life over death is absolutely always beneficial, or more often than not, then the opposite is not true. And so for a framework on truth, or a framework that grounds itself in truth, I find this to be problematic. Granted, when you're in a debate situation live and another person and you're a professional debater, I 100% get it. Okay, I can acknowledge this. But when you really get down to why people choose these over others, I feel like you shouldn't lay that out. I find that with these sort of principles in particular, it might sound like it's obvious, but to me, who's just a random bitch on the internet, my opinion doesn't matter. The problem is it doesn't work for multi frameworks, like multi-ethical dilemmas. What you have an ethical dilemma, the trolley problem, right? Kill 1, save 5, whatever. But what about in situations where you're related to the people that are like laying down on the trolley? It introduces another concept that doubles the complexity, right? I find that when we do the life over death, health over sickness, pleasure over pain, this falls apart really quickly. Or it's a lot of just fucking dancing around it with logical fallacies, which is fine. But I don't feel like it is grounded, whereas something like determinism is, at least in my opinion, it is. And I've been laying out, sorry, let me go to chat. Sorry, it's been a minute. Bye. Hey, everybody, like the video if you haven't liked it already. Oh my God, I'm so behind. God is a necessary precondition for good and bad. Speaking of God, one of my favorite Matt Dillahunty videos as of right now that I have continued to go back to, I think it's a really good one, timeless, honestly. It's when he debated what is his name? A Christian. I have the article up here. That's not it. Just kidding. You'll find it if you type in. I'm sure it's like the first one that comes up. It's like Christian versus whatever. Really good. It laid out some of the best issues when it comes to why somebody should operate under like an atheist perspective as opposed to God. But something that he said in that video kind of irked me. And I honestly, I've been watching a lot of his videos, and I don't remember it coming up in this way in another one. So take what you will. But he said, like as a gotcha moment, that well, my preferences versus your preferences don't really matter because you get yours from Aditi, I get mine from me. So like what really matters? And I feel like this is so fundamental. Like, and I'm just spewing now. Okay, fuck it. One of my issues is like all morals, all morality is based on your fucking preferences. Okay. Matt Dillahunty knows this. But what's interesting about religion, I feel like doesn't get enough credit because we personify God, and I get it, but from like a determinist standpoint, it's unnecessary, but like also an atheist. Hold on. So to me, when you have these guidelines coming from something like a deity, what that says to me as a hard determinist, atheist, degen, is that you have a unbiased, all-inclusive, non-judgmental, loves everybody, right? Thing that tells you what to do or how to guide your ethical behavior. Whereas going off of your own preferences, like Matt Dillahunty, for instance, you are absolutely fucking biased. The fact that you're even saying that fucking, which I don't remember the actual argument, it was something like that. It's like you're literally demonstrating your bias in that statement. And so I find it ironic. I feel like if you are a religious debater, I've definitely heard religious debaters say like, try to say something like I just said, but I don't feel like it hits the same. Not that I said it really that good, but it almost comes off like you know better, and that God is, it comes off like you are like a slave to God, like God's gaslighting you. I can't really support it, but if you know, you know. Okay. It's just, it's giving gaslight. It's giving blink twice. Okay. I've definitely heard Andrew say, like, why do your preferences matter? But Andrew's like built different. I want to see more savage Christian debaters. Okay. Happy New Year. Have a great show and year. Thanks, Moonpill. Love you. Happy New Year. Did God create man, or did man create God? So I have a different take on God, which is funny because I've been studying quantum mechanics, which is hilarious because I hate physics. And I was like, you know, it would be really cool because I've been editing this book. It's short, guys, but I'm going to make the font big. No one will know. I was like, you know, it'd be cool if I could ground this framework and call it God, G-O-D, because technically it makes it demonstrates sort of the religious experience, if you will, like God knows best, and oh my God, divine intervention. It explains all of that scientifically. I was like, whoa, general oscillation decoherence, sick. So under determinism, you can think of it as like, see, I think of it like, how would you even go to describe that thought, Tori? Prior to being an atheist, I went to Catholic school, and then I also got into Christianity in my early 20s. I don't know. And so I had a conceptual, like when I would think about the future, it would look like it would look a certain way. If you're religious, okay, on Sunday I'm going to church. You know, when you just like think about the future, I'm gonna marry a man in the church. I'm going to baptize my baby and traumatize them. You know what I mean? And you sort of go through life. I never really was like, oh, that's a miracle. I'm just too probably autistic, honestly, undiagnosed, too autistic to think that way. But I definitely was like, everything happens for a reason. Like God, I was definitely there. And under determinism, that still fits. It's just God to me wouldn't be personified. I think we intrinsically understand that the universe is deterministic, but due to like our inability to be highly integrated and self-aware, here I go. Fuck. We have a tendency to, what do you call that? What do you personify something? No, like it's like a beautiful thing that humans don't realize that they are the God that they're talking about in religion. They personified them, made it a third entity, if you will, depending on the religion. Okay, there's many different ones, and they're all seriously. Okay, I'm not just saying that. Some believe it's an essence, some believe it's personified, some believe it's you. It depends. Okay, I just feel like the traditional sense of it, like Christianity in the Western nation, is equivalent to therapy. It is like the model of going to talk therapy and figuring out like your limitations, your false beliefs that you tell yourself. It looks the same as religion. Just religion made it a little bit different. And by a little bit different, I wouldn't even know how to articulate like the language, the songs. Guys, I would fall asleep in the Catholic Church. Okay. The Christian church was popping. It was popping. But it's like literally the same. But what was my point to that? But the way that you viewed the world had this linear trajectory. Okay, we're going back to my point that I started. And with determinism, it still has that. The difference, though, is the magic is in the predictability that we have not grounded yet. I'm throwing it out there. It's predictable. It is. We just have this issue called perception. I'm insane. Where is it going? I don't know. I'll come up with it. I feel like religion, Christianity in particular, if I ever say religion, I'm talking about either Christianity or Judaism, typically. But in this instance, I'll say Christianity. It's like my issue with it is not much. Two really fundamental things. Like the Bible and the religion is grounded on the concept of free will. I don't believe this to be true, but I can understand why people do believe in free will. I can operate like there's free will. Obviously, I had no choice, but I understand why maybe this seems like the right measure. But then what was the other thing? I had a second thing. Oh, hot take. How do you even word this? Religion, I feel like gets it when they say people are born in sin. Not really how I would word it. Not how I would word it. But this idea that people are born not integrated or unintegrated, born sort of operating in like instinct, if you will. I don't know how unconscious, some people would say subconscious, and that growth and transformation comes from suffering, arguably. It comes from making the right decision and believing in God and whatnot. My issue comes is when it promotes, in a weird way, it promotes this idea that you must not behave in an evil way. And while on paper that seems legit, probably the way we want to set the world up, in my opinion, this leads to regression. In that Christianity, because of this, because it has this framework a certain way, it shields the person from integrating those darker selves, evil, if you will. And so the problem with people progressing or attempting to progress, it's that they don't recognize the capacity for evil in themselves, so they spend the rest of their lives like projecting, to put it in the most reductionist way. I would argue that even atheists fucking do this. Okay, I feel like I made that case in the beginning. We need to focus on like the real truth of the human experience, which is that we all have the capacity for evil. And what happens when you do this is that the evil absolves and people are operating with self-awareness. And it sounds stupid, but Carl Jung backs it up. And I really do think that this is going to become a predictable framework moving forward. There's just no way around it. It's obvious. Anytime somebody blames somebody, not integrated. And it's like, what happens when you're integrated? You move ethically without thought. And I don't mean to say that it's like, ooh, magic. You just do. You don't need rules on your framework. You get it. You understand that everybody is connected, like all trees. Connected in the sense where if I harm the environment, if I'm a business owner and I harm the environment, I open a machine shop and my carbon footprint is out of this world. No pun intended. Okay, expediting our necessity to escape to Mars. Me releasing those toxic chemicals, knowing that humans are not doing well. They can't make they're unconscious. They're operating in evil. No, I'm just kidding. It's like, if I know that those people have no say in that, and I get to just bloop, that's evil. And so when you integrate, you become like hyper aware, not in an obsessive way, but just aware that my actions, whether it's for profit or whatever, can influence somebody's illness. It could influence somebody's death. Maybe I'm not aware of it right away. time and space, baby, gravity, black hole, quantum. I'm just kidding. um, it doesn't become obvious until you're integrated. And that's just like one thing. It's not all of it. Other things are like, you begin to be hyper aware of people who are projecting and operating on the unconscious, and you offer them support and you hopefully push them in the right direction. Because right now we only got about 10% of the world that's integrated, and we need more. And while some people will say it's impossible to get everybody on board with a process like that, I disagree. Genuinely. I disagree. I think everybody's capable of it. We just haven't put the resources out there. Other countries have. Norway, Netherlands, they have community-based networks that provide these sort of, like, I'd say mental health care, but the therapy models or whatever. Every single conflict that arises between groups, any groups, you name them, people, groups, social media, whenever you see anything that's highly contentious, I can almost guarantee with 100% certainty that somebody's projecting. And what does that mean? That means that somebody has not, it's like, it sounds so silly. It really does, believe me. But until you integrate unconscious selves, you see threat in everybody else but yourself. And so you're going to have an imbalance. It doesn't matter what measures you put on a framework to adopt with you. That is how countries commit genocides. It's not hate speech. It's you. Okay. I need us all to get that. Okay. We're rambling like the video. Grow your own food, raise your own beef. That get back to me. Yeah. Yeah. Something like if we actually care about people, we would adopt this deterministic framework. And I feel like literally I'm ranting, but it feels like the only reason why people want to hold on to this free will is literally because they're projecting their egomaniac self that they don't even believe in once they're integrated. It's frustrating. It really is. I believe in hierarchies, exploit the best people, pay them well, okay? Pay them well. And sometimes I feel like when I say these, like the sort of we're all connected vibes, it's giving like Marxism, and I don't mean to do that. I just feel like we have been operating like we just don't know why people are getting more sick, and it's like we do know. Well, people who get it know it. There's multiple factors for anything, okay? Sometimes I feel like determinism makes it seem like it's just like one straight line, but really we're going this way, but we're also dynamic, okay? So we are here and here. So like you're going in a certain direction, whether you're doom scrolling, but there's multiple possibilities. So it feels like you have free will, but what we really have is randomness. But randomness under certain conditions is still deterministic. I'm sorry, under physical laws, whatever. What else did I have to say about secular humanism? Free will. It already contradicts itself. Oh, yeah. Hold on. Is my cheek swelling going down? Probably not. It's looking a little fat. I hate that word, fat. Ugh. Secular humanism often critiques religion for grounding morality in divine preferences masquerading as, I just want to take these off, as objective truths. Yet, by clinging to free will, secular humanists inadvertently commit a similar error, grounding morality in the subjective preferences of the individual. That's what I meant to say. Secular humanists, well, they have a tendency, okay, it depends, but most of the time they have this belief in autonomy and individualism above all else. I find this really problematic for a lot of reasons. In particularly, excuse me, particularly in complex ethical dilemmas. Do I really want to go into? Yeah. What do you do if there's dual outcomes? Meaning, how do you decide whose pain and suffering must forego for the individual? You already know. Okay. You already know the example I'm giving. You have somebody who fears for their life, even though no crime has been committed yet. Okay. So it's all technically only observed to the person that's about to make a call. Okay. So hope they're telling the truth. It's like, do you 5150 this person who lacks capacity, who hasn't committed a crime, even though you're scared, you're worried? Do you have them 5150 and traumatize them? What do you do in a scenario like that? That's like the quickest one I can think of. And it's like, well, if they fear for their life, they should 5150 them. And it's like, well, if you, how would you ground that? Like, is it when the person is shouting at them? What could go wrong? Is it when they get close to them? What if they never do? What if your instinct is wrong? Okay, what do you do? When we have something like individualism, we say above all rights, okay, or I'm sorry, above all else, my individual rights matter the most. So me personally, I'm scared for my life. I'm 5'1", I'm calling crisis, okay? But then what happens is this person goes to a mental health ward for 72 hours and they say, I do not want medication. Even though they don't have capacity, even though we know the research says the longer somebody is in a psychosis without medication, the worse outcomes they have. We know this. But above all else, we say individual autonomy. What could possibly go wrong? It speaks to my soul, okay? I've lived it. It is one of the most complex fucking dilemmas because not only is it complicated on the outset, but you also have to take into mind perception, rationality, under fear for life, and then who are you to say what you know is going on in somebody's head? Okay, you can kind of perceive they're saying crazy shit, they're grasping at things in the air that aren't there. I hope they believe you. And then when you have a model like that, well, they'll say, well, if they're a danger to themselves or others, that's when you intervene. So you're telling me you're waiting until a crime's committed. Sick. Talk about compassionate, even though you know it's a mental health thing. I must, you know what? I'll just wait for them to hit me with a baseball bat and then hopefully I can call them. I'll get triggered if I do the 911 thing. Well, have they hit you yet? I'm sorry. Send 911. What? Oh, that was an eye opening. Just like one big white beam. I'm just like, oh my God, I have to be dead before I can even sick. Like, what the fuck? Um, However, under something like determinism, I would say that this pineapple juice, man. I would value excuse me. I would value interconnectedness, if that's what you want to call it, over autonomy. I think there's sometimes where you need somebody to act on your behalf, a loved one, a parent. Um, we already have parents doing well, they can control them. Okay, you're projecting. I'm sorry. You're insane. I can't argue with you. Um, and so I would prioritize that there is some instances where people don't have the capacity to make the best long-term decisions for them. And sometimes you have to forego a little bit of trauma from being strapped into a gurney and medicated so that you can regain capacity. That's my opinion. Some people would disagree, but I would also say hope it never happens to you. That's like going on a trip on acid and never coming home. Okay? Do what you will. Whatever. Whatever. It would have happened. Did I have anything else? Probably. Now, secular humanism's emphasis on autonomy often blinds it to the reality that not all individuals possess equal capacities for long term decision making. My issue is coming into how would how would you promote integration of the self? That's my dilemma. If anybody wants to give me ideas, that's my dilemma right now, honestly. Because if I if I use this sort of model, I feel like if you know, you know, it's like the only people are gonna project if you use that. It creates like hostility. So it's like if they don't hear you, but what makes it more useful? I don't know. Mental health? Maybe. I don't know. Thinking out loud, looking for ideas. Hello. Second Amendment is still a right if you're scared that much by a pew. Oh, my Lord. Welcome back. What happened? James says, what if true interconnectedness requires a degree of independence? I think it does. I think it does. But my issue comes when you can't, not you, but like, it's like if you value compassion, or I'm sorry, if you value free will, see, I don't think free will and compassion live on the same block, genuinely. I don't know if I would die on that hill, but that it's giving incompatible. And it's like, well, how? And it's like, because you can't say you're compassionate and then put somebody in jail that clearly has no capacity. It's like, well, they can have an insanity plea. And it's like, do you know how often that arguably every single person should have an insanity plea? And there's like none that get granted. It's so faulty. I feel like, and we know that rehabilitation, reduces recidivism. I can never say that word, recidivism. It's like meaning that if you have, let's say, harsher sentences, it doesn't stop people from committing crimes again. You know what does? Rehabilitation. It's like, why are we not adopting that? Because we're scared. It's like, fucking Jesus. Is she having an argument with herself? Absolutely. This whole time. Eat the food, drink the wine, praise God, and let the world be world. Old saying. You just judging people. Ego. For sure. I'm not perfect. Ten people were killed in New Orleans by a truck. We need to ban assault trucks. I'd be curious if the person in front of the vehicle has a history of crimes. If they do, not saying that it's okay. What I'm saying is things like this, I feel like it's like we want to. What is an assault truck, Ryan? What is that? Wait, what? I was thinking guns, and then I'm like, wait a minute. What do you mean inject self? Like, I don't know how to, when I say inject self, I mean like put self into the framework, I believe. I don't know. I'll rewind that and comment it below, David. Insanity plea as barely even real. Personally, every single person that has committed a crime like assault, I'm thinking like homicide on extreme ends, should have an insanity plea. That I'll die on. There's no difference. There's no such thing as, like in my worldview, which is kind of confusing because in the beginning, I will use the concept of evil in order to make those that are like religious understand where I'm getting at. But me personally, I don't believe in the concept of evil as this force that is looking to do bad things like crimes. No, I see every single instance a mental health problem. You cannot convince me otherwise. Maybe you could. Typically, when they looked at the brains, they lacked the empathy. They had the smaller amygdala. Something was off. Maybe they had CTE. There's always like some sort of not always, kind of always actually. Like there's something off. Something that I've heard is like, you interview these types of people and they're just like you and me. And I'm like, yeah, no shit. The ones in jail that have capacity that you interview that can be manipulative, charming. It's like, when are we going to wake up that we are all these people? Like everybody has the capacity. Environments are important. I think we should pay teachers more. At least if we know that your outcomes are determined based on home environment, school, you want to pay more money. But I don't know how we would do that. I was thinking about that today. I was like, could we even adopt like a centralized education system, government vibes? No. Where you put a set amount, whether it comes from fucking taxes or the government's fucking thin air. It's like if we allocated it all in one area in some way, wouldn't that reduce? See, if we got it from taxes, that's why there's still a disparity. Never mind. Don't ask me about fucking policy in that regard. I'll tell you what I think we should do, but I don't know how we would implement it when it comes to like economics and funding like schools. But I think like I don't know. I'm from Chicago. We got gang activity and shit. And it's like, if your home environment sucks, you spend most of your time at school. I don't know. Do you think paying teachers more money would do anything? Or would the wrong people get into teaching? What would paying them more do? I don't know. Maybe it would make them do their job better. Because if you're not paying them that well, then it's just lazy people. I don't know. I don't know. Thinking out loud. Do you think they get the AI teachers already? Part of me thinks there's instances where homeschooling would be absolutely detrimental to somebody. Like if you had an abusive parent, whether that's physically, you know what I mean? It's like, of course, they would want to homeschool their kids. No, it's like they really wouldn't have another adult that is required by law to report anything. It's like they could abuse, right? But it's like on a large scale, being homeschooled could be so beneficial. But let's say you can't do that, because that's kind of, we're not really set up for that type of shit in this country. Something that really aggravates me is the way, at least my high school did this. I don't know if your high school did this, let me know in the chat, but they separated people by learning disabilities. And I feel like you're setting people up to fail. One of my like pretty firm beliefs is everybody should be exposed to the same information, whether they understand it or not. It's like, good luck. But when you don't expose everybody to all the material, then you end up like people end up bombing ACTs or standardized testings because they never seen fucking algebra 1 because they were in a low level fucking math. You know what I mean? I feel like we need to somehow create a better model where it includes everybody together, unless you choose to like private send your kids, maybe AP, college credit, whatever. But there's something I feel like we have a really poor model for people with something like ADD, autism, on all spectrums, and some of the most gifted people are in those cohorts. I don't know. Do you guys know what Montessori school is? Has anybody gone there? My mom used to make fun of it when we were younger. She's like, oh, that's where they do that. My mom was like a fucking angry woman. It's like where you get to play with different things and find your strengths. I was like, I kind of like that model. What's the point of learning? I don't know. I've been thinking about education with my hypothetical child I don't have. Maybe it's me. This is how the baby fever manifests. It's like, fix the schools. I don't know. But I think about the kids because it's like bothersome to me that I'll hear things like, we don't. It's typically with like immigration. They'll be like, they take all the low paying jobs. It's like, we don't even set people up to excel at something like other countries do. You know, in Europe, I was going to go to school in Krakow. Fun fact. And that entrance exam was no fucking joke. Man 38 overweight presents to the hospital with and you're just like, wait, what? what ma'am, when you meet, was I supposed to take a class on this? What is this, med school? And then I knew it beforehand, but it was like your high school in Europe. I was just talking about this with fucking Shane. Hi, Shane. Their high school is kind of like college already. There's like two options. You can either kind of extend a high school, or you go to the more accelerated like college type stuff. So it sets you up, less schooling. Shit, I think you can become a doctor at like fucking 25. Let's say you end up going into a career you don't like, going back to school doesn't take off a decade. You know, I feel the schools pay attention to your strengths when it's set up that way. Like, what are we doing with the distance formula, you know? I've definitely used that in my adulthood. Thank you, Dee. Any insight on how to get over a breakup? Go right through it. Go right through it. Most breakups, or most people you date, will end up in breakups. Most of the population that goes through relationships is probably gonna not stay with the partner. You know, breakups are more common. Try to identify where you could do better. Be honest with yourself. Block them on all social media. Okay, out of sight, out of mind. And I don't know. Don't do crazy shit, though. It's not worth it. If you behave well, they always come back, okay? You can still join Hustlers Universe. No shit. Become emo for a month. Thank you for the super chat. Devin says masking tape roll funds for doggo. Dude, I'm so worried. She's gonna have to get her stomach pumped, okay? We're not feeding her masking tape. I know you're kidding. Damus, Happy New Year. So drugs, I'm done. These schools have nothing. Calm down. Hi, Casper. Get a motorcycle. What makes you think I haven't? Sure. Oh, wait, they're not talking to me. Bye. Oh, hey. Hi, Grid. Love you. Torshaa, you can also go to college or go back to college if you're over 25 as a mature student. People in the 60s do it. People in their 60s or in the 60s do it here. My father went to college 3 times. Oh, okay. I'm assuming in the 60s. I was looking into non-degree seeking because I'm like, fuck, dude, like doing this whole physics thing is really taking a lot out of me. It's bringing me back to a horrible time. And I'm like, maybe if I just go as a non-degree looking student, you know, no pressure, but at least I can sit in a class and come back here and tell you guys everything I learned about wave functions. But then I'm like, am I crazy? Maybe there's like an online, you know, Khan Academy. I'm like, maybe. I was like, this feels a little Delulu. Mm-mm-mm. Behave well and just stay busy. Out of sight, out of mind. Thanks a bunch. No problem. I'm sorry. Breakups suck. Obviously. But don't get to a point where if you get to a point where breakups are relieving to you, go get help. You should feel it. Okay, guys. I think that's it. I think I yelled enough. My cheek is still swollen. Like the video, comment, subscribe. If you disagree with me, put it in the comments below. Drink water, open a window, wear your SPF, and we're all connected. Okay? We are looking at plastic like it's a diamond, baby. Recycle that shit. Okay? Recycle it. Do it for the turtles. Okay, love you. Bye.